My son auctioned me off for $1. I still remember the way his voice echoed across that glittering ballroom, light, careless, almost proud, as if what he was doing wasn't cruel but entertaining, as if turning his own father into a punchline in front of 200 well-dressed strangers was just another clever moment in his perfect evening. And I sat there, frozen, wondering, how does a son get to this point? How does a man you raised, protected, and sacrificed for stand under bright lights and ask a room full of people, who wants my boring dad? Like I was nothing more than an old piece of furniture he couldn't wait to get rid of and tell me this. What would you do if the person you loved most suddenly became the one humiliating you in public? Would you stand up and leave? Or would you sit there hoping it's just a joke that will pass? Because I thought that too. I told myself there's no way he means it. No way this is real, but then the laughter started, low at first, then spreading across the room like wildfire. And in that moment, something inside me quietly broke. And before I tell you what happened next, you need to understand something about me and my story here on Dad's True Revenge. Because stories like this aren't just about betrayal, they're about the moments that test your dignity and your worth. So if you believe respect should never be taken for granted, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because what happened that night, it didn't just change how I saw my son. It changed everything I thought I knew about family, and the worst part, that wasn't even the moment that shocked me the most. You see, my son wasn't always like this, or maybe that's what I kept telling myself to sleep better at night. Because when you spend decades believing you've raised someone with values, with respect, with a sense of right and wrong, it's hard to suddenly accept that somewhere along the way, something changed, or maybe it didn't change at all. Maybe it was always there, quietly growing while I was too busy working, too busy providing, too busy thinking that love alone was enough to shape a man. Have you ever looked back and wondered, was there a moment you missed? A sign you ignored? A small act of disrespect you brushed off because you thought, it's nothing? Because now, sitting in that ballroom, replaying years in my mind, I started to see things differently. The way he used to interrupt me, the way he stopped asking for advice, the way his tone slowly shifted from warm to distant, then dismissive, then cold. And yet, every time, I told myself, he's just busy, he's under pressure, that's what success does to people. But deep down, there was always that quiet question I refused to face. Was I losing my son, or had I already lost him long before that night? And as the laughter around me grew louder, that question came back stronger than ever, because this didn't feel like a joke anymore. It felt like something planned, something intentional, and I couldn't shake the feeling that this night, this gala wasn't just about charity, it was about something else entirely. The truth is, I didn't even want to go to that gala in the first place. I remember standing in my small living room earlier that evening, holding the invitation in my hand, reading those elegant gold letters over and over again, wondering why my son suddenly wanted me there, because for years, I had been kept at a distance from his world. His business circles, his high-profile events, I didn't fit into that life anymore. Or at least, that's how he made it feel. So why now? Why this sudden invitation? Have you ever been invited somewhere and instead of feeling honored, you felt uneasy, like you were stepping into a place where you didn't belong? That's exactly how it felt. But I went anyway, because no matter how distant he had become, he was still my son. And a part of me hoped, maybe this was his way of reconnecting, maybe this was his quiet attempt to bring me back into his life. And when I arrived, everything looked perfect, too perfect. The lights, the music, the polished smiles, the people who barely glanced at me as I walked in. I remember adjusting my jacket, suddenly aware of how out of place I looked among all that luxury, and then I saw him standing confidently at the center of it all, laughing, shaking hands, admired by everyone, and for a brief moment, I felt proud, truly proud, because no matter how distant he had become, that was still my boy. But that feeling didn't last long, because when he finally looked at me, there was no warmth in his eyes, only something I couldn't quite understand at the time, something that would make sense much later. At first, everything seemed normal, or at least, normal enough to convince myself I was overthinking things. My son greeted me with a quick smile, the kind that doesn't quite reach the eyes, and introduced me to a few people whose names I immediately forgot, not because I didn't care, but because the way they looked at me made it clear I wasn't really part of the conversation. Have you ever stood in a room full of people and felt invisible, like you were just filling space rather than being seen? That's exactly how it felt, and yet I stayed quiet, nodding politely, trying not to embarrass him, trying not to become the boring dad he had already decided I was. And as the evening went on, I noticed something else: the subtle glances, the quiet whispers, the way a few people looked at me, and then quickly looked away as if they already knew something I didn't. As if I was part of a story that had already been told behind my back. And that's when the uneasiness started to grow into something heavier, something harder to ignore, because this wasn't just discomfort anymore, this was anticipation. Like the room was waiting for something to happen, and somehow I was at the center of it, even though no one had said a word to me. And when my son finally stepped up to the stage, adjusting his suit, tapping the microphone with a confident smile, the entire room fell silent, and in that silence, I felt it, that strange sinking feeling in my chest, the kind that tells you, whatever is about to happen, it's not going to be good. He started with a speech smooth, polished, exactly what you'd expect from someone who had built a reputation on charm and confidence, thanking sponsors, praising the cause, making the audience laugh at just the right moments. And for a second, I almost relaxed. I thought, maybe I was wrong. Maybe this night really was just about charity, just another event in his successful life. But then something shifted. It was subtle at first, just a slight change in his tone, a pause that lingered a little too long, a smile that felt just a little too sharp. And then he said it. And now for something a little more entertaining, and I remember feeling my stomach tighten, because those words didn't belong in a charity speech. Not like that. Not with that look on his face. Have you ever heard someone say something simple, but the way they said it made you uneasy? Like there was something hidden beneath the surface. That's exactly what it felt like, and before I could even process it, before I could prepare myself for what was coming, he glanced in my direction just for a second, but it was enough. Because in that look there was no hesitation, no doubt, only certainty. And that's when I realized whatever he was about to do, he had planned it, and I was part of it. I just didn't know how far he was willing to go, until the moment he opened his mouth again, and turned me into the center of the room without my permission, without a second thought. And now, he said, his voice louder, sharper, carrying across every corner of that room, let's have a little fun. Who here wants to take home something truly unique tonight? And the audience chuckled politely, expecting a harmless joke, a clever transition, something charming. But then he turned fully toward me, extended his hand in my direction like I was an object on display, and said the words that still echo in my mind: I present to you my father, starting bid $1 for my boring dad. And for a split second, there was silence, the kind of silence where your brain refuses to process what you just heard. Have you ever experienced a moment so shocking that it feels unreal, like time pauses just to give you a chance to catch up, but then it hits you all at once, and before I could even react, the room erupted into laughter, real laughter. Not nervous, not hesitant, but loud, entertained, amused laughter. And I sat there, my hands gripping the armrest, my heart pounding, asking myself, did he really just do that? Did my own son just put me up for sale in front of everyone? And worse, why was no one stopping him? I wish I could tell you I stood up right then, that I walked out with dignity, that I didn't let it affect me. But the truth is, I froze, completely froze. Because when humiliation comes from a stranger, you can brush it off, you can fight back. But when it comes from your own child, it hits somewhere deeper, somewhere you don't know how to defend. Have you ever been hurt so suddenly that your body just shuts down, like it doesn't know whether to react or protect you? That's exactly what happened to me. I could feel every pair of eyes in that room shifting toward me, scanning, judging, curious. And all I could think was, if I move now, if I stand up, will it make it worse? Will it give them more to laugh at? So I stayed, not because I wanted to, but because I didn't know what else to do. And up on that stage, my son smiled, waiting as if expecting bids, as if this was all just part of the entertainment. And in that moment, something inside me asked a question I never thought I'd have to face. When did I stop being his father and become his joke? The laughter didn't stop. In fact, it grew, spreading across the room, like it was the most amusing thing they had seen all night. A few people leaned toward each other, whispering behind their hands. Others openly smiled. Some even clapped lightly as if encouraging the act. And I remember looking around, searching for just one face, one person, who might show a hint of discomfort, a sign that this wasn't right, but there was nothing. Have you ever been surrounded by people and still felt completely alone, like you could disappear in that moment, and no one would notice? That's exactly how it felt. And the worst part wasn't the laughter. It was the absence of empathy. Not one person stood up, not one voice said, "This isn't right." And that silence, that acceptance made it all feel even more real, even more painful. Because it told me something I didn't want to believe in that room. At that moment, I wasn't seen as a man. I was seen as entertainment. And as I sat there, trying to hold on to whatever dignity I had left, my son leaned closer to the microphone again, and what he said next somehow made it even worse. "Well, come on," he said, laughing lightly as he scanned the crowd. "Surely someone here has $1 to spare, I promise. He doesn't eat much, and he comes with plenty of outdated advice for free." And the room laughed again, louder, this time more comfortable now, as if they had fully accepted the joke, as if this was just part of the show, and I felt something shift inside me. Not anger, not yet, but something heavier, something closer to disbelief. Because this wasn't just a moment anymore, it was deliberate. He was continuing, pushing further, testing how far he could go. That something you hoped would stop was only just beginning. That's what this felt like, and I could see it now, the confidence in his posture, the ease in his voice. He wasn't nervous, he wasn't unsure, he had planned this, every word, every pause, every laugh, and the realization hit me harder than anything else that night. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a joke that went too far. This was exactly what he wanted, and as that truth settled in, I felt a quiet question rise inside me. If this is who he's become, then who was I to him all these years? For a moment, I thought about standing up, about walking out without saying a word, leaving him on that stage with his laughter and his audience, and I even shifted slightly in my seat, my hands pressing against the armrest as if preparing to rise, but then something stopped. Something I couldn't explain at the time. Have you ever felt that pull, that instinct telling you to stay, even when every part of you wants to leave? It wasn't pride, it wasn't weakness, it was something else, something deeper. As if a small voice inside me was saying, "Wait, don't move yet because something isn't finished here." And so I stayed, sitting there, exposed, humiliated, but watching, observing, because suddenly, the room didn't feel the same anymore. The laughter, the lights, the faces, it all started to blur into the background, and all my focus shifted to one thing, this moment, this turning point, because deep down, I felt that something was about to change, something unexpected, and I had no idea what it was, until the room slowly began to quiet, until the laughter faded just enough for a single voice from the back of the room to finally speak. At first, it was barely noticeable, just a shift in the air, a subtle break in the laughter, like something had interrupted the rhythm of the room, and then it came again, clearer this time. A voice from the back, calm, steady, completely out of place in that sea of amusement, "I'll take him." And just like that, the laughter stumbled, not fully gone, but uneven now, uncertain. Have you ever heard a single voice cut through a crowd and felt, instantly, that something had changed? That's exactly what it felt like. Heads began to turn, one by one, searching for the source, trying to place the tone, the intention, because there was no humor in it, no hesitation, just quiet certainty. And I remember sitting there, my breath caught somewhere between disbelief and confusion, thinking, did someone actually respond? Is this still part of the joke? Or is something else happening? And for the first time that night, my son's smile faltered just slightly, but enough for me to notice, because whatever he expected, it wasn't this. And as the room slowly shifted from laughter to curiosity, that voice spoke again, louder, now clearer, impossible to ignore. $1 million. And the words didn't just land, they hit the room like a shockwave, the kind that doesn't make noise at first, but you feel it in the way everything suddenly stops. Conversations froze, glasses paused mid-air, even the air itself seemed to tighten. Have you ever witnessed a moment so unexpected that it feels like reality just tilts for a second? That's what happened, because no one laughed, this time, no one dared to. And I could see it on their faces, the confusion, the disbelief, the sudden realization that whatever this was, it was no longer a joke. And up on that stage, my son blinked. Once, twice, his confident posture stiffening as if his body hadn't yet caught up with what his ears had just heard. "I'm sorry, what?" he asked, forcing a small laugh, trying to pull it back into humor, but the room didn't follow, because something had shifted completely, and I sat there, my heart pounding, asking myself a question I never thought I'd have to ask: who would pay $1 million for me? People started turning in their seats now, fully facing the back of the room, whispering, pointing, trying to catch a glimpse of the person who had just changed everything with a single sentence. But from where I sat, I couldn't see clearly, only a figure, partially hidden by shadows and distance, standing with a kind of stillness that didn't match the chaos they had just created. Have you ever sensed someone's presence before? You truly saw them, that feeling that they carry something important, something deliberate. That's exactly what it felt like. There was no rush in their movement, no need to explain or justify, just quiet confidence. And that made it even more unsettling because this wasn't someone trying to impress the room. This was someone who already knew their value, and suddenly, questions started flooding my mind. Who is this person? Why would they say that? What do they want? And more importantly, why me? Because let's be honest, I wasn't anyone special in that room. I wasn't wealthy, I wasn't powerful, I wasn't even known. So why would a stranger, someone willing to say $1 million without hesitation, choose me? And as those questions circled in my mind, I realized something else. My son had gone completely silent. The silence on that stage was different now. Heavier, awkward, in a way that couldn't be laughed off, and I could see it clearly. My son was trying to recover, trying to bring the moment back under his control. All right, he said, forcing a smile that didn't quite hold. Let's not get carried away. It's just a joke, ladies and gentlemen. But his voice didn't have the same ease anymore, the same confidence. Have you ever watched someone lose control of a situation they thought they owned? That slow realization that things aren't going the way they planned. That's exactly what was happening, because the room wasn't responding to him anymore. Their attention had shifted completely, and he knew it. You could see it in the way his eyes kept drifting toward the back, trying to locate the source, trying to understand what he was dealing with. And for the first time that night, the balance of power had moved, not loudly, not dramatically, but unmistakably. And as I watched him stand there, no longer the center of control, a strange feeling began to rise inside me, something I hadn't felt all evening. Not humiliation, not fear, but something quieter, something cautious, something like hope, but I didn't understand it yet. Not until that voice spoke again. I don't joke about value, the voice said, steady and clear, cutting through whatever control my son was trying to regain. And I certainly don't joke about people, and this time, there was no mistaking it. This wasn't participation. This was confrontation. Have you ever heard someone speak so calmly that it makes everyone else uneasy, because calm like that doesn't come without reason? And the room felt it. You could see it in the way people leaned forward now, no longer amused but attentive, almost tense, waiting, because something bigger was unfolding, and I could feel it too. Sitting there, my hand still resting on that armrest, my heart no longer racing but steady, focused, because suddenly, this wasn't about being humiliated anymore. This was about something else, something deeper, and as I looked toward the back again, trying to make sense of the figure who had just shifted the entire room with nothing but words, one question echoed louder than all the others. Who are you, and why do you care? Because whatever this was, whatever was about to happen next, I knew one thing for certain: this night was far from over. The room didn't know how to react anymore. It was like the laughter had been taken away and replaced with something heavier, silence mixed with anticipation, and I could feel it in my chest. That strange pressure when you realize a moment is no longer under anyone's control. Have you ever been in a place where something shifts so suddenly that even the confident people stop feeling confident? That's what this felt like. And my son, standing there on that stage, he was no longer the center of attention. The room was no longer looking at him with amusement. They were looking past him, toward the back, toward that stranger, and I could see it now. Clearly, for the first time, he was losing grip, not loudly, not dramatically, but piece by piece. And that's often how control disappears quietly before you even realize it's gone. And I remember thinking, this night started with him holding power over me, so how did it end up like this? With him standing uncertain, and me sitting there watching something I didn't yet understand begin to unfold. The stranger finally took a step forward, just one step, but it was enough to change the atmosphere completely, because now people could see him more clearly, and whatever casual curiosity they had was gone, replaced by something else: attention, real attention. Have you ever noticed how some people don't need to raise their voice to be heard? They just arrive differently. That's what this felt like, and he spoke again, calmly, as if the entire room didn't matter. I meant what I said, 1 million, and I am not here to entertain anyone. And that sentence alone stripped away whatever illusion of humor my son was trying to hold on to, because now it was clear, this wasn't part of the act. This wasn't a joke, gone too far. This was intentional, and I could see my son's expression change again, a flicker of discomfort. The first real crack in his confidence, and I found myself watching him more than the stranger now, because for the first time, I wasn't the one losing control of the moment. My son tried again, forcing a laugh, adjusting the microphone, trying to reclaim the room like nothing had changed. "All right, let's not turn this into something ridiculous," he said. But his voice didn't carry the same authority anymore. It sounded smaller, thinner, and the audience felt it too because no one laughed this time, not even politely. Have you ever seen someone realize they're no longer in charge of the story they created? That moment when their confidence starts to break in real time. That's exactly what I saw, and the stranger didn't move, didn't react, just stood there, calm, patient, like he had all the time in the world. And that silence between them, it grew heavier every second until it felt like the entire room was waiting for something to collapse. And I remember thinking, this isn't about me anymore. Not anymore. This is about my son. And whatever he started, he was no longer controlling. And strangely, I found myself sitting differently now, not shrinking into the chair like before, but watching, fully watching, because something inside me had shifted too. The humiliation hadn't disappeared, but it had been pushed aside by something stronger: curiosity. Have you ever been in pain so long that something else eventually takes over, something like clarity? That's what it felt like, because the situation was no longer just about me being humiliated in front of strangers. It was turning into something else entirely. And I could see it now, the way the stranger spoke, the way he stood, the way the room reacted without even realizing it. This wasn't random, this wasn't impulse, this was deliberate. And my son, for the first time, looked unsure of what to do next. And that was something I had never seen before. Not in all the years of his confidence. Not in all the years of him being in control of every room he entered. The stranger finally turned his attention slightly toward the stage. Not fully, just enough to acknowledge my son's presence, and said something that changed everything again. "You started an auction, so let's finish it properly." And the words landed differently this time, heavier, final. And I felt it instantly. This wasn't escalating randomly anymore. It was structured, intentional, like a door that had been opened and could no longer be closed. Have you ever felt that moment when something crosses a point of no return, when everyone in the room knows it? Even if no one says it, that's what this was. And my son stood there, silent for a second longer than he should have been, because now he wasn't dealing with an embarrassed father anymore, or a laughing audience. He was dealing with something he didn't prepare for, and I could see it in his face. He was starting to understand that this night was no longer his to control, and whatever came next was going to change everything. The stranger didn't rush. That was the most unsettling part about him. There was no excitement in his voice, no desire to impress the crowd, no need to prove anything. He simply walked forward again, slowly, like every step had already been decided, long before he entered that room. Have you ever met someone who doesn't react to pressure the way others do? Someone who seems unaffected by chaos, as if chaos itself has to adjust around them. That's exactly what it felt like. And now he was closer to the stage, closer to my son, closer to the center of everything that had been spiraling out of control. And the audience, once so amused, so entertained, was now completely silent, watching, waiting, because they could feel it too. This wasn't performance anymore, this was something else, something heavier. And I remember my son shifting slightly on the stage, trying to maintain posture, trying to look composed, but failing in small ways. He probably didn't even notice a twitch in his jaw, a hesitation in his breathing signs. Only a father would recognize signs of fear. For the first time that night, I looked at the stranger properly, really looked, not as a voice in the back of the room, not as a number shouted into silence, but as a presence standing in full light. And something about him felt familiar, not in appearance, but in energy, in the way he carried himself. Have you ever seen someone and felt like you should remember them, even if you can't place where? From that uneasy familiarity that sits at the edge of your memory, that's what I felt, and it disturbed me more than anything else that had happened so far because I couldn't explain it, and I hated that I couldn't explain it. Control again, speaking too quickly now, forcing confidence that wasn't there, but no one was listening to him anymore. The room had already moved on. Their attention was locked onto the stranger and onto me, as if I was no longer just part of the joke, but part of something unfolding that no one understood yet. "I think you misunderstand what kind of auction this is," my son said, his voice louder now, but strained at the edges, like he was trying to push through something that was already overpowering him. But the stranger stopped walking, just stopped, and that alone was enough to silence the entire room again. And then he spoke, calm, controlled. No, I understand it perfectly. You offered your father to strangers for entertainment, and there it was, the shift, because now it wasn't playful. It wasn't ambiguous. It was direct, and I saw my son's expression tighten instantly, because words like that don't leave room for recovery. Have you ever watched someone realize too late that they've said too much, done too much, and there's no graceful way back? That's what this felt like. And for the first time, the audience wasn't laughing at all. They were uncomfortable because the joke had ended, and something far more serious had taken its place. The stranger turned slightly again, this time not toward my son but toward me, and in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt all night: recognition, not from him, but from myself. Like something buried deep inside my memory was trying to surface, but I still couldn't grasp it fully. Have you ever had that feeling where your mind is trying to connect dots you didn't even know existed? That slow realization that something in front of you is tied to something behind you. That's what it felt like, and the stranger's voice softened just slightly, not in emotion, but in tone. Some people forget where they came from, but I don't. And that sentence, it hung in the air longer than anything else that night, because it wasn't just directed at the room, or at my son. It felt personal, directed. And suddenly I was no longer just a spectator in my own humiliation. I was becoming part of a story I didn't yet understand. My son finally snapped. "Enough," he said sharply into the microphone, his confidence breaking into frustration now. "This is my event, my stage, and you don't get to come here and disrupt it." But even as he said it, you could hear the uncertainty beneath the anger, because he knew it wasn't working anymore. Have you ever seen someone raise their voice, not to control others but to convince themselves they still have control? That's exactly what this was. And the stranger didn't react immediately. He just looked at him calmly, almost pityingly, and then said something that made the entire room feel colder. "No, tonight, it stopped being your stage the moment you forgot who was standing in front of you." And that was it, the final crack, because my son went silent after that. Truly silent. And for the first time since this night began, I realized something terrifying. Whatever the stranger wanted, it was no longer just about money or bidding or humiliation. It was about something far deeper, something that had been waiting a long time to surface, and I was right at the center of it, whether I understood it or not. The room felt different now, like everyone was holding their breath without realizing it. Even the smallest sounds, the shifting of feet, the faint clink of glass, felt too loud, and in the middle of it all, the stranger finally stepped fully into the light near the stage, and what I saw in his face wasn't anger. It wasn't excitement. It was certainty. Have you ever looked at someone and felt like they had already lived the moment you were just beginning to experience, that they were standing in a truth you hadn't reached yet? That's what it felt like. And then he spoke again, but this time, his words weren't for the crowd. "You don't remember me, do you?" And the question landed softly, but it changed everything instantly, because now this wasn't about an auction or humiliation or even my son anymore. Now it was about something buried in time, something forgotten, and I felt my chest tighten, because a part of me already knew, I just didn't want to accept it yet. My son frowned, confused at first, then annoyed. "What kind of game is this?" he asked, trying to regain control, trying to turn it back into something he understood, but the stranger didn't blink, didn't move, and then he said something that made the entire room go completely still. "7 years ago, you made a decision that ruined a man's life and you never looked back." And suddenly the atmosphere changed again. But this time it wasn't curiosity anymore, it was tension, real tension, because now people weren't watching entertainment. They were witnessing something unravel, and I felt it too, a cold shift inside my chest. Because those words, they didn't feel random, they felt directed. And for the first time I saw my son's confidence truly break, not in anger, not in defiance, but in recognition. Like something inside him had just been touched, something he had buried a long time ago. And then the stranger looked at me again properly this time and said, "You didn't deserve what he did to you tonight." And those words, they hit differently, because they weren't loud, they weren't dramatic, they were simple, but they carried weight. I can't explain. Have you ever had someone acknowledge your pain in a way that makes it feel real again, like you were never invisible to begin with? That's what it felt like. And suddenly I wasn't just sitting in humiliation anymore. I was sitting in something else, something heavier, truth. And I could feel my son's presence shift on the stage beside me, restless, unsure, because whatever this was, it was no longer under his control. Not even close. And for the first time that night, I didn't feel small. I felt seen, and that terrified him more than anything else. My son finally stepped down from the stage, just one step at first, then another. His voice gone now, replaced by silence, and the stranger met him halfway. No rushing, no aggression, just inevitability. And when they stood face to face, the entire room felt like it disappeared, and the stranger said quietly, "You thought you were powerful because people laughed with you, but real power is knowing who you can't humiliate." And my son didn't respond, not immediately, because there was nothing left to say. Have you ever seen someone realize the consequences of their actions all at once? Not slowly, but all at once. That's what I saw in his face. And for the first time, I didn't see my son as the person I raised. I saw him as the person he had become. And that realization hurt more than anything else that night. The stranger turned back toward me one last time, and the room stayed silent. No laughter, no whispers, just silence, and he said softly, "People a mirror, but not everyone recognizes themselves in it." And then he stepped back, as if everything he came for had already been said, and just like that, the control my son thought he had was gone completely. And I sat there trying to process everything that had happened, the humiliation, the reversal, the truth hidden beneath it all. Have you ever had a single night change the way you see your entire life? That's what this felt like. And as people slowly began to leave the room without saying much, I realized something important. I wasn't the joke that night. I was the truth he tried to erase. And as for my son, he finally understood something too late. That some actions don't just embarrass people. They come back with consequences. You can't laugh away. If this story made you think about respect, family, and consequences in a different way, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Dad's True Revenge for more powerful, true-style storytelling like this.